Hey everyone, Anime Cynic reporting for duty. In today's installment, we're going to be looking at Demon Slayer, 2019's hottest anime thus far. Before we get into the video any further, though, I'd like to do a quick breakdown of WIWC. The series doesn't necessarily reflect my overall views of an anime. It's one focused heavily on mistakes, though, so it will seem all negative. Normally in videos, there are positives sprinkled in, but this is focusing on changes to improve the show. Things that are already good and thus don't need changes will be left out. So keep that in mind, and please try to remember that it's in the nature of the series. I'm not allowed to change core elements of the anime. The overall vision of the series must remain intact despite my changes. Finally, changes that are too far outside the scope of reason aren't allowed. I'm trying to suggest things that actually could have been done. If I didn't adhere to this rule, there would be nothing to learn from these videos at all. That's the rules taken care of, so without further delay, let's talk about Demon Slayer, what I would change. Sadly enough for Demon Slayer, I see things to be changed even in episode 1. The very beginning of the episode shows Tanjiro carrying Nezuko on his back, saying, "Don't die." 6 seconds into the show, they show us a tragic twist for later on in the episode. That's gonna be a yikes for me, dog. I truly cannot fathom why this choice was made. However, the change is very simple. Put literally anything else here. Anything at all. A slideshow of the anime director's family? Perfect. A still image of a dog with deafening white noise playing in the background? Fantastic. Point being that almost anything is an improvement over these spoilers, and let me tell you why I think that. Because of this clip, we know as soon as we see Tanjiro's family that tragedy is going to befall them, making this tired routine of happy family, struggling family feel empty. Why would our brains form any affection for ones we know all too well are soon to perish? If we didn't see that clip, however, the contrast between happy, poor family and brutal death murder remains intact. Shock value is something really in right now. In fact, being edgy in your movies or shows in general is really in. But shock value alone isn't what we gain here, it's but a means to an end. Tonal shifts are a quick and easy way to drive consequence home. Death is often something that doesn't feel dangerous in anime. Death is present, but it doesn't apply to anyone important to the series or the characters. It feels too safe in this world. Showing a gruesome scene like this early on keeps the possibility of consequence alive a little bit more. And it isn't the gore that does it, it's permadeath that does that. So just cut out the first part of the episode and let it flow naturally. Replace it with B-roll or a longer outro. But whatever you have to do, just do it and cut this intro out, please. Next up in episode 1, something that bugged me is this hatchet toss. If you don't remember what I'm talking about, allow me to give you a quick refresher. Tanjiro fights Giyu in the woods. Well, I call it a fight, but it's more of a sexually charged ass whooping than a fight. Anyways, he fights him in the forest and tries to stop him from splitting Nezuko bow to stern. Anyone with a brain and eyes probably predicted he'd take an L, but much to our shock, he almost bisects Giyu's head with a secret hatchet toss. I call bullshit on this throw. I went back and timed it. This hatchet stays in the air for over 30 damn seconds. Now, my knowledge of physics isn't top notch, but according to my math, that would make the throw velocity about 220 meters per second. For all my fellow Freedom Eagles, that's about 500 miles per hour. I'm pretty sure that's like 65 the speed of sound, so no fucking way he tosses the hatchet with that much sauce. Another easy fix, just don't have 20 seconds of quiet reflection with Giyu while the hatchet is in the air. Cut the flight time to like 6 seconds and you've got yourself a scene. If two small things are all I change with episode 1 though, that's good. With Isekai Cheat Magician, the entire video was just episode 1. My inner dark, edgy self wants to say fuck it, kill Nezuko and make Tanjiro the embodiment of vengeance towards Muzan. I'm not alone in this either. I've seen videos, comments, forum posts, reviews, all saying that they wish Nezuko died and Tanjiro became angrier. Only difference being that my inner dark edginess is just how these people are all the time, but still I can relate to them. Not super sure what that says about me, but I'll do a video about that specifically. I want to address the hashtag kill Nezuko mindset now though, and why I agree-ish with the route the show took. Nezuko is a more key character than people seem to think. She isn't just the tragic sister side character. At this point in the anime, she's the driving force. The bus may be shaped like Tanjiro, but make no mistake, Nezuko is the one sitting in the driver's seat. Why is this? Well, let's look back to Tanjiro meeting Muzan. Originally, Muzan's goal was just to kill Tanjiro to silence him. So yes, his original goal was Tanjiro. But fast forward a few episodes and now Tanjiro is a side goal. Nezuko is what he wants. She's a demon unlike any he's seen before. Not in a cliche way either, like she's the strongest or the chosen one, but just because she's super weird and freaks him out. Now we have something that's actually investing him in this story besides killing, a reason for him to remain directly involved. If it wasn't for Nezuko, we'd never see Muzan again, and the plot would just be watch Tanjiro do nothing for 20 episodes. Hopefully I explained that in a way that was semi-coherent. The next thing I would change is something more vague. Demons themselves, specifically their eating habits. Demons are obviously our supernatural element, and with such an element you need defined rules. Then, no matter what, you can't go outside them. If you do, it just ends up confusing and irritating the people who love your anime. I mean, why bother to learn and understand a power system if the anime itself doesn't even give a shit? With Demon Slayer, it feels to me like one of two things happened. First, they decided the power system and forgot it later on and messed up. Second possibility is that the lack of consistency about the demon's powers and growth comes from the Slayer Corps' bad brain. For example, it's a Demon Slayer who tells us the demons gain strength from eating people, but it's also a Demon Slayer who tells us the demons eat their own kind. Later on in the anime, it seems like eating humans is actually a secondary factor, and that the primary determining factor is the quantity of Muzan's vein juice you get. This is in direct contrast to what we've seen, however. In the final selection, the hentai demon that Tanjiro kills was a complete normie demon, but because he'd chomped so many kids, he was strong. However, unlike the moons, he is wildly deformed. I wish this was explained further and in a coherent way. Either this was sloppy writing and showmaking, or they were going for the ignorant Demon Slayer angle I talked about before. Well, that doesn't work for a few reasons. For one, this show isn't first person or third person following an individual. It shows us all characters candidly, including demons. So you can't push the Slayer's lack of knowledge on us when they aren't who we're following. If this was an anime that only showed us events from the perspective of the Slayer Corps, then our knowledge developing alongside theirs makes sense. Obviously, that isn't the case. Also, if you have an unlawful system in your story, you need to do everything in your power to apply laws to it. What I mean by that is, since magic, demons, and Japan aren't real, there isn't any laws defining them. There isn't a rule book on demons we can just brush up on if you leave something in the show vague. Take that little rant I went on earlier about the axe toss. Axes are real, throwing is real, so we know the rules surrounding these things. As for my change, I think it's obvious. I'd get in there with some markers and whiteboards and chart out exact parameters for any and all supernatural elements. Make it clear early on so that way you can move on to the good stuff. Developing characters and furthering the story gets much harder to do when you need to keep updating us on basic systems of the world. Right after the final selection, Tanjiro should have grabbed those two possessed dolls and shook them until they told him what the fuck is up with demons once and for all. In all honesty, I started working on this video thinking there would be a lot more to talk about. I was sure that it was going to be a repeat of last episode where I couldn't even get past the first couple of episodes of an anime. What I realized during my third rewatch for this video was that Demon Slayer really was 2019's golden boy for a reason. The more I watched and understood, the less I found fault with until finally only a couple things remained, which is usually the opposite of how it works. The more I watch things, the more I find fault with. While I still think it's far too early to say whether or not Demon Slayer deserves a spot in the big leagues of anime greats, I think it's well on its way. Beautiful visuals, no eye-melting CGI parts, interesting story, worthwhile characters, it's got quite a bit. Honestly, aside from these small errors and maybe a couple more that I missed, this anime is great. Which brings me to my final point of the video. This series is about finding and fleshing out flaws of any size and stature in the hopes of enabling improvements in the future. You might think I'm a stupid nitpicking bitch, and while that is fair, it's also mean, so please stop. Thanks for watching, and if you liked the video, that makes me happy.